Welcome to AUSA 2014. The show this year is slightly smaller than last year. The stands are a lot more spaced out, and the show floor isn't really being used to much capacity. But despite that, there's still a lot of news going on here. There's still a lot of concern about sequestration. Unfortunately, it seems to just rehashing the same announcements from the last couple of years, so AUSA last year and then AUSA winter in February. The same sort of concerns ongoing, and there's just not a lot of forward insight into what's going to be happening, so there's a lot of concern about that. A briefing by the PEO Ground Combat Systems Brigadier General David Bassett. He sort of outlined how the ground combat system, ground combat vehicle, was cancelled. When it was cancelled, it was actually ready to go and it was performing to budget. The decisions that he said they made were, when that was cancelled, they had wanted to improve other platforms within the Army Brigade combat teams. So this is more of a priority across the board rather than developing just one particular platform. However, looking ahead with the future fighting vehicle, they seem to be looking at discussing how to reintroduce the ground combat vehicle and use this to meet the requirements. Meanwhile, it was also disclosed that the AMPV procurement to replace the M113 vehicles will not replace the entire fleet. It will only replace those that are being used within the Army Brigade combat teams at the moment. The remainder will be left to a future decision. Other announcements at the show. There seems to be a standoff between the Boeing and Sikorsky SB-1 Defiant option for the joint multi-role helicopter and the Bell helicopter V280 Valor. Their stands are positioned opposite each other on the upper halls, and they can glare at each other, and they remain to be seen because it's quite a long, drawn-out program, so that those guys are positioning themselves to secure that. Elsewhere, with the Humvee upgrade, the companies are positioning themselves against each other for that particular program as well. There's not actually a program of record, but the Army's doing a lot of work on that initially. They want to sort of see what options are available. You have AM General and Northrop Grumman on one side, which seem to be offering recap vehicles, which will reintroduce the capabilities that were originally planned for the Humvee, and to allow it to perform the missions that it has been able to do over the past, originally intended to, before they up-armoured it for operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. On the other hand, you have Textron Systems, which, in partnership with Granite, are providing a quite new Humvee vehicle, which has got all the armour and all the bells and whistles on it. It's got a new Cummins engine, which they're showing here at the show, and that is designed to provide a slightly more expensive but more capable vehicle with its armour can provide protection against IEDs, which the old Humvee would not be able to. So the Army looks like it's got a choice between what they want in terms of regenerating that kind of capability between an older recap vehicle or a new one. Lastly, the main other announcements at the show with Textron is that they are showing off one of their Commando Select vehicles. They've just announced that they're selling 10 of these Commando Select vehicles to the Bulgarian military. Elsewhere, you have the Boeing Phantom Badger on display. They've got a new mortar variant, which is being targeted at the ultralight vehicle market, and they've also said that they've sold 4 of these vehicles to US SOCOM. Elsewhere, BAE Systems have got a very large technology demonstration on their stand with the new turret on the top. This turret has also got a laser system on the side as well.